What's up, guys? Coach John Wojo here with JW Fitness, answering another question from the car today, just because I just got a text message from a buddy of mine who happened to be one of the members of a gym that I owned previously from before, when I lived in New Jersey before I moved to Florida. And he asked, I'm kind of paraphrasing here, is there a simple approach to being lean, i.e. losing fat, without always having to be eating low calories? And I suppose the simple answer is no, but there's so many caveats to it, I figured I would record a quick video and explain the idea. And I know if you watch any of the other videos on my channel, anything having to do with getting leaner or about diet, I always circle back to the same principles. So this is probably going to sound like a broken record to many of you who have already watched my videos, but the message can never be told enough because people still don't, it doesn't register to them. So you are the result of your energy balance that you maintain. The total amount of energy that you expend in a day, let's say, well, you just use a day, so it's got to be within a specific time frame. And in this example, we'll just use a day. The totality of all of your energy expenditure throughout the day, that is, all of the metabolic processes that your body utilizes just to stay alive, to digest food, to move around, and yes, to do pre-planned or planned organized exercise and training. All of that energy, i.e. calories, we can use as how we determine energy. Calories are just energy. It's a form of energy. It's how we calculate energy. So all of that energy, all of those calories that we expend versus the calories that we take in, which we are 100% responsible for. Calories just do not sneak themselves into our body. We cannot breathe in calories. People can't force calories into our bodies without our knowledge, right? We are responsible for the calories that we take in. When the calories coming in through our mouths exceed the amount of calories that we are burning, we are going to store that excess energy as body fat. And or we are going to use some of that excess energy to build muscle if we're resistance training. But just looking at it in terms of fat loss and fat gain, when we consistently take in more energy than we're expending, we are going to gain fat over time. And when we are consistently taking in less energy over time than we are expending, we are going to lose fat over time. That is it. That is the equation. That is what we're working with. That is an undeniable fact. That is the way it works. Period. End of story. Now, if we want to consistently be in a negative energy balance, meaning we want to make sure that we are expending more energy than we're taking in so we can lose fat over time, there are two ways we could do that. We could move more, exercise more, just generally move more and burn more calories, put out more energy, and or take in less energy in the form of food. So typically the easiest thing to do is we can move more in the form of structured workouts, like resistance training workouts that are designed to, at the very least, maintain the muscle tissue that we currently have. Because the more muscle tissue we have, the more energy we expend, and which will help us get leaner over time. What we don't want to do is be consistently in an energy deficit and not be resistance training, because then we're risking that some of the weight loss that we will experience is not just going to come from fat, it's also going to come from muscle, and we don't want that. That's why we strength train. That's why we go to the gym and move weights around, because that's a stimulus to our muscles, so our bodies will keep our muscle tissue, and that way any weight loss that we experience will come from fat, not from muscle. I'm trying to say this as simply as I can. So there are two ways we can go about creating an energy deficit, creating a calorie deficit. It doesn't all have to come from reducing our food intake, and it doesn't all have to come from moving more. It's a combination of the two. So resistance training 3 to 4 times a week, taking daily walks, doing some planned cardiovascular exercise that's a little bit more intense, like running, jumping rope, swimming, bicycling, things like that. Things that are just a little bit more intense than walking are going to burn more calories. But diet is a huge part of it. It's a huge part of it because we can only move so much. We only have so much time in the day, and we only have so much like mental energy to give. We can't just be like, do 6 workouts a day and just always be like jumping around and moving, right? It's just much easier to just not eat those donuts, not have that second beer, not have a cheeseburger in lieu of a chicken breast, right? It's just much easier to create that deficit by eating a lower calorie diet and making sure that we still get the protein that we need and the healthy fats that we need and enough carbohydrates that we need to power our workouts, but making sure that the total amount of calories that we're taking in is less than all of the energy that we're putting out. Because as long as we can consistently stay in a deficit by reducing the food that we're eating and increasing our energy output, we are going to lose fat over time. The problem is, or where people struggle, is that they kind of do things half-ass, right? They're kind of watching what they eat, and they're moving, they're exercising, they're going to the gym, they're part of some type of program, or they go to a group fitness place and they go 3 or 4 times a week, and they're walking, every other day, and they're trying to be as consistent as possible, but they find themselves not losing weight. And the reason why they're not is because they are not as consistent as they think they are, or they, for some reason, believe that progress should happen at a faster rate than it is. And so they'll be good for 3 days, then they'll eat kind of crappy on the 4th day, and then they'll eat good on the 5th day, and then the weekend is here, and they'll kind of eat like shit over the weekend, and then they'll start again on Monday. And in their mind, they feel like, I should be making progress, and I'm not. But you have to understand, it's a perfect system, right? You will be rewarded with your efforts at the end of the day. If you are consistent enough, and you are in a calorie deficit long enough, consistently enough, you will lose fat, right? There's no reason why you won't. That is just the way the body works. You will lose fat. If you find yourself not making the progress that you want, then you are not consistently in a calorie deficit. It is a self-evident fact. If you are making the progress that you want, then congratulations. You are consistently in a calorie deficit. But if you're not, you have to look at your habits and what you're doing, and more importantly, what you're not doing, that is causing you to stall out and not lose the weight that you want to lose. If you're constantly starting and stopping a diet, right? Well, then the likelihood is you're just kind of eating at maintenance, or maybe you're eating in a calorie surplus ultimately at the end of like a given week. And of course, you're not going to lose weight. If you're in a calorie surplus, you're going to gain weight. But if you are consistently in a calorie deficit, week after week, you will lose fat. That is just how it works. You can succeed at this, but you have to be consistent. And like I said, if you're struggling meaning you just find yourself, you're stuck at the same weight week after week, and you're just not seeing the scale go down, and you're not seeing improvements in the mirror in your body composition, or how your clothes are fitting you, then you are not, despite what your Apple Watch tells you, despite what your calculator tells you, despite what your nutritionist may have told you where you need to be calorie-wise, despite what, I don't know, whatever. In reality, you are not in a deficit. If you are not losing weight, you are not in a deficit. End of fucking story. If you are consistently in a deficit, you will lose body fat, period, end of story. Just most people are just not consistent enough to follow it through to get to their goals. They just keep stopping, or they just keep sabotaging themselves, or they just keep deluding themselves into thinking that they are in a calorie deficit when in reality they are not. Or they are in a calorie deficit 5 days out of the week, but then the weekend comes around, they eat like shit, and they wipe out that calorie deficit that they created. Because it's, we only have 2,000-3,000 calories depending on who you are and your activity level and your size. It's not like some people require 30,000 calories a day and other people require 1. I mean, we're all in a similar range of calories, 2,000 to 4,000 or whatever it is depending on your size. The important thing is to find out through guesstimating or using an educated guess by using a calorie counter or a multiplier system to guesstimate what your maintenance calories are, subtract from those maintenance calories to get a target calorie goal for you per day that you feel fairly confident is going to put you in a calorie deficit. And then your job is to hit that number on average day after day after day after day after day after day, and treat yourself like a science experiment. Try and control the variables as tightly as possible. Try and hit that number as consistently as possible. And over time, it will become clear whether that, if you're truly following it, it will become clear whether that number is appropriate for you or not. And you may have to add 100 or 200 calories to that number, or lower the number 100 or 200 calories or whatnot, to kind of dial in what is correct for you to lose weight at the rate that you are looking to lose weight. Also remembering that it's not entirely linear. So this is something that you have to do like religiously for weeks at a time. It's not just a couple days. It's not just a couple weeks. We're talking months. We're talking, if you're overweight, significantly overweight, it might take like 6 months to see a real change in your body. But it will happen if you are consistent. It is a sure thing. You should be entering this process with the utmost confidence, knowing that this is a fucking sure thing, because it's just science. It's how the body works. But the onus is on you to be consistent. You can't just kind of follow it, because you're just going to end up being at maintenance or above. Some days you're above, some days below, some days you're at. And then the end result is you're just going to maintain your body weight and you won't make progress. You have to consistently be taking in less energy than you're expending in order for you to see clear, sustained fat loss over time. But it works if you're consistent. And I think I just beat a dead horse. Guys, I hope you appreciate the content. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Send me your questions, and I will talk to you again soon.